Hello there and welcome back to the channel. So Abyssal Yudil just dropped in the game, and in this video let's go ahead and do a banner review of that. Alright, so we have a new top tier fire DPS unit coming in with the new top tier attack value. Pretty high HP, pretty high defense. We're starting to see more and more balanced stats coming in on these units even when they have a top tier attack stats. Alright, now we have a 5 hit. Of course, he specializes in fire to get your full multiplier. Generic DPS character skill there. It's going to be huge. It's going to do huge damage. And then the usual Abyssal passives. So the increased attack, the reduced agility, that's the new penalty. Much nicer than the old one. And then stats to fire weapons, etc. But this Awakening passive is amazing. So adding 30% pursuit on top of that attack value and that character skill multiplier is ridiculous. And the debris is nothing to write home about. It's timed defense. I guess that could be cool on your Summer Yuri if you're using a defense scaled weapon. I guess I wouldn't go chasing that. But let's take a quick look at a comparison between Yudil and Sino Akeha, who was our last generic fire DPS unit. Of course, Akeha only has 4 hits. She has a 400% that's increased by 50. That ends up being 600 per hit, or 2,400 total. And then Yudil having a 5 hits, that roughly adds up to 28. But you see, on top of that, Akeha, she's got great attack value. And I still love her, and she's still great. But she has no extra damage multiplier. She does have that ambush, which just makes her easier to build, crit rate-wise. But it's not going to be anything compared to Yudil's pursuit. So even without the pursuit, he's already hitting a higher percentage total than her. And then with that pursuit, that's quite a bit more. That we're getting like well over 3,000% total. Okay, and yeah, so both really similar passives, right? Just the vigor and the blaze drive, or the stats to fire weapons. So obviously Yudil is the new power creep of this, and Akeha's not going to suffer from the agi penalty. But it's obvious we have the fire subjugation greatsword, and in the new meta where agi isn't so important, if you're using Summer Yuri, kind of protect yourself, snipers and whatnot, I could see Yudil actually being an arena unit with that subjugation greatsword. He could be coming in with short cooldowns and doing a ton of damage. That's of course if he gets that pursuit passive. His own weapon would be great too. It's kind of like an EX, but the existing fire EX greatsword we have has an AoE nuke, and you don't always want that. So this one is like a 5 hit at 100 if you're, using a 2-hand sword costume. So that is EX level. And then a shorter one with, slightly less, 75, still pretty good, and 4 hits, not ideal. But, a crit and damage buff too. So this is kind of our new fire EX type greatsword with, with the usual busted attack stat that we see on 2-hand swords. And pretty high HP too. Wow. So this is great. This is top tier. Okay, taking a look at the rest of the banner here, we have a new healing weapon for fire. Insanely high HP, a generic 20% heal, and a defense buff. So a Fateboard main hand, and I still like the Celeb F66X fire healing weapon a little better. It has the cleanse and the heal, and it has a ripper instead of the defense buff. I guess it depends on what you're up against. If you're up against mobs, the defense buff might be a little better. If you're up against single bosses, I'd rather have the ripper. That's an attack break. Okay, so the weapon's okay. I wouldn't, be gunning for it. And then a Fire Fist with another proficient skill, EX level. That means you need a fist user to get that fire buff, but 100% 5 hits, very nice. And then this one's kind of a bummer because of the lower multiplier. The 4 hit I could deal with, but 55 is pretty low, and that's a really short cooldown. So this is just an interesting weapon because this is 23 seconds like you see on EX weapons, and this is like, you know, arena cooldown level 15 seconds. And 3 turns of burn. And burn can be fun sometimes if you're turtling in like Fateboard or hard content, but I don't know. If you have Celeb Lavanya, I'm sure he would love this weapon, as he is a fire-based fist unit. And Boon Haste, I didn't mention it on Yudil's weapon too, Boon Haste. And that's always awesome, right? So you can get your haste from your main hand there. Or it's just any Boon Haste weapon is always a good sub-weapon. And the attack stat is very nice on this as well. That's the banner. Now, should you pull? I would say no, and I feel like a broken record, but Anniversary's right around the corner. Not only are we going to have top-tier Anniversary banners, probably 2 of them, probably 6 new units, but we're also going to have what we usually get, Mama's Exciting Festival, which gives you great rates on previous celeb units, and it's a great way to pick up celeb units that you've missed in the past. We're also going to have that buffed units banner that we just got an announcement about, and there's going to be tons of stuff that you're going to want to pull for. Furthermore, we still have the summer banners up with top tier units. We have Noel, who's a top tier sniper. If you can, of course, you can watch my review of that, and then Yuri, who is you know, a game-breaking arena unit. That's good in other modes as well. And you can check out my review of that one too. And yeah, so these are still up there. There's just so much good stuff to pull on. And it just seems like I'm always giving that same advice on Abyss banners. And no matter how much I say it, people are always going to pull. I know a lot of newer players, they kind of see it and they just automatically think like, oh, this, you know, these Abyss units are like a step up, you know, and they kind of always have been attack-wise. The old ones, of course, having that penalty, the cooldown penalty really made it a downer, and certain ones are still really useful. And then now we have the new edgy penalty, which is just fine in PvE. And of course, like I said, this Yudil is a top tier attacker. He's the new power creep for a fire 2-hand sword user PvE. DPS could also be good as a DPS turret in arena. So if you're really lacking there, maybe fire is the one, you know, subjugation score you can't get. Of course, he's not going to be only good in subjugation. He'll be great in Fateboard, really nice in Fateboard. And you know, maybe you're lacking there and you really need to beef up your fire team. You want to pull for him. Maybe you really have the extra resources and you'll still be fine for Anniversary. Otherwise, it's such a tough sell with everything else going on, and that's my advice for pulling. I would way rather prioritize going for Summer Yuri if I wanted to pull on something right now, or I'd be saving for all of the upcoming banners. And that's it. Those are my thoughts for this video. Thanks so much for watching. As always, if you like what you see here, throw a like and a sub on it. It's much appreciated, and I'll see you in the next one.